Hello, welcome. We have a great video for you tonight. Drink too. First of all, I want to ask, how do you feel about greatest hits? I want to hear what you think about them, if you like to listen to greatest hits or if you'd rather hear full albums, because we're going to talk about some of those tonight. We also have a couple new releases, a really great band that we're about to see live this weekend, and a holy grail. I have kind of a couple holy grails up my sleeve, so stay around for those. Let us know what you think about them. Hopefully you learn a few new things tonight. And we're also going to be featuring one of the holy grails is a local piece, actually, from the Rockford, Illinois area. And also from the Illinois area, we have a local drink. So very excited to start getting in on that. Get a sip started. So here we go. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Skylar Davis from Culture Shock Clothing and Records right here in Rockford, Illinois. And I know it can be very frustrating when you go record shopping. There's thousands and hundreds of thousands of records to choose from, besides all the great vintage records and great, older releases that we're still catching up on learning about. There's a lot of new labels and a lot of small labels and independent labels putting out releases every single week. And it can be a challenge to kind of keep up with all of that, and it can be frustrating when you're record shopping. So that's why we are doing Vinyl Happy Hour. Join us every Thursday night as we have a drink and talk about at least 5 records we think you should know about, so you can feel educated and confident when you're shopping at your favorite local record store. We would definitely love to hear your comments and hear what you have to say either about the show or some of the records we're featuring. Plus we've got Lauren here doing all the filming here in the back, so she'll be checking comments as we do this also. First off, I want to get started. I've got a really exciting thing happen to me when I went to the liquor store this week. First time I've ever seen on the shelf Whiskey Acres Bourbon. They're kind of a fresher distillery. They've only been around a few years out here in Dekalb, Illinois. We actually got to go there a couple years ago for a tasting and a tour. It's a farm, and on site they distill their own whiskeys. We got to meet the farmers and see the fields and see where all the corn is grown right there on site. We got to see their big storage facility with all these barrels, hundreds of barrels aging, because it takes many years to make a great bourbon. Bourbon really needs at least 4 years. I think that's the legal requirement. It has to be at least 4 years old. So all we could do is smell the room, see the barrels, and hope to taste it one day. While we were there, though, they were able to distill some vodka. This is my old empty from what I picked up when we were there on the tour. And some of their whiskey from Whiskey Acres here in DeKalb. That was really great. They even had this really cool thing they were doing. They had a spiralized piece of charred barrel that you could actually soak up in the whiskey if you wanted to give it more of that aged or that smoky flavor. Their barrels of bourbon were still aging though, so we couldn't get any of that, and I just noticed now they must finally have their batch of bourbon ready, so I picked one of these up and I just cracked into it today actually. First note right away, it's a really smooth one. I already had a little sample before I started the video. Let's take one more. I even have, I'm a fanboy here, I've got the Whiskey Acres little shot glass as well I picked up when I was there at their facility. It washes over the mouth so smooth, tastes so great. I'm really proud of what they've done there. So cool that we've got an Illinois distilling place making this. They consider it a farm-crafted bourbon because it is farmed all right there on the site, all local farm and locally distilled. So I'll definitely say you should definitely check this out. If you have time, go check out their facility. It's only 35-40 minutes outside of Rockford. Really great guys down there, very educated on what they're doing. I asked you earlier to leave some comments about greatest hits. I've got a bunch of greatest hits I want to talk about. As vinyl's making a big splashback, I'm seeing a lot more artists putting out greatest hits. It's kind of funny to see some bands that I don't think are that old putting out greatest hits. Makes me feel a little older. But it got me kind of looking at some of the greatest hits we have in the store today, because tomorrow coming out with the Friday new releases is a special release of Notorious B.I.G. The record label's doing this thing. They're calling it the Record Store Crawl. They're doing a limited edition series of a few different artists. This came out in 2007, really rough time again for vinyl, not a lot of releases then. Pretty rare to find the original one of this. With the reissue, it's a 2 LP on clear red vinyl. And it's even got a little insert with it and some photos. Pull that out. We've got the lyrics on the one side of the sheet and some really cool photo booth photos of the B.I.G. himself. Really cool set of music from his whole career. A lot of his albums are double LPs, a little pricey, harder to find. So if you want to get in some of his collection of music, it might be best just to pick up the greatest hits. These are a limited edition series, so I would say get in sooner than later on those. But I do want to show off a bunch of other greatest hits that I was pulling from the store. There's a lot of older classics, of course, Earth, Wind and Fire, Jackson 5, Cat Stevens. But there's also reissues of some older artists. David Bowie has volume 1 and 2 of Changes, so he has kind of a 2 different record set of greatest hits. And this is a really cool special reissue of Jimi Hendrix Smash Hits, but it's the European artwork. It's a different version of the art than was on the original. And then, of course, we got Fleetwood Mac Greatest Hits. Now, some artists that I don't feel are that old, but do have some greatest hits available right now at your local record stores are going to be Nirvana Greatest Hits. This is cool, too, a double LP of Green Day's Greatest Hits, but there's a couple songs on here that are exclusive to the Greatest Hits set. So it's not just stuff from all their other albums. You get a couple new tunes on there. This just came out a couple months ago, Flaming Lips Greatest Hits. As you can see, it's labeled Volume 1. They have quite a few albums now that they've been playing for over 30 years, probably. I'm guessing there's going to be a Volume 2 of that. This is a different kind of take on Greatest Hits. This is the Cure double LP Greatest Hits that came out a few months back also, but it's all their songs done acoustic hits, so that's pretty interesting. Band you may not have heard of, but you might want to check out Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry. Kind of, I don't even know what to say, kind of goth rock post-punk. Really cool set from them. Jack White did the best of Blind Willie Johnson, really early Delta Blues. This is on the Third Man Records label. If you haven't seen American Epic, definitely recommend it. It's like a PBS series about the roots of the blues. Some of those are going to be really rare to find. Going back to some more modern bands, though, The Killers, Direct Hits. This is from 2003 to 2013. It's a 2-record set of music from highlights of their career. Foo Fighters have greatest hits available. Then we get into the Grateful Dead. These are reissues of 67 through 77, so that's a double LP Volume 1 greatest hits, Volume 2 greatest hits. This would cover 77 to 89. And then they even have a double LP of greatest hits just of live songs. As you know, they played a lot of sets, did a lot of non-stop touring. Some other older artists that just have some new releases out that are just greatest hits collections are Def Leppard. There's the Phil Collins singles set, double LP. And then another band that's a little more obscure, the Cocteau Twins. This is a collection from 82 to 90. Really kind of high vocals, kind of a dream poppy band of sorts. So another cool way for you to maybe check out some bands is to find these collections or greatest hits. That's something I really remember being more on CD, it seemed like back in the day, but it's cool that they are being pressed onto vinyl now. It also helps the pocketbook if you want to get into a band and don't want to buy 8 albums from the whole band. You can just maybe start with the greatest hits. This brings me to my next release. This came out a few months ago. This is the newest one from Census Fail. If there is light, it will find you. But what's really special about it, there's so many special things about this record actually. First of all, I'll just say that it's got the lyrics printed on the insert, and this is the limited, just for indie record stores, pink vinyl version. And it's got a gatefold with the artwork inside. Comes with a download card. The most special thing about it is the drummer on this album left to, after the recording, to be in another band, and our friend Steve Carey, who works right here at Culture Shock, got auditioned and is now in the band Census Fail. He just did a statewide tour with them, and he's currently on the Warped Tour with them. So they're wrapping up Warped Tour, going up through August. Wherever you're at, go and see them on Warped Tour. They're playing this Saturday at Tinley Park in Chicago. Monday we're going to go up to Milwaukee to see them. So I can't wait to see them live. I've never seen them live. If you don't know Census Fail, they started back more in the earlier 2000s. Great hardcore band, little bit of a post-punk sound, even a little pop-punk sound. Just all around great musicianship, great vocals, kind of higher vocals, but it gives me a little throwback sound. Love the band. I've always loved them. It's so cool now that we have a local connection to them through Steve. I can't wait to see the guys play. Super cool that the new album came out on an indie exclusive colored vinyl also. Yeah, so congratulations to them and to him for being in them. So they had been off the radar for a few years, hadn't done an album. This new album came out. I love it just as much as their old material. Sometimes when a band hasn't made an album for a few years, you can kind of wonder about what's going on. So cool that they've gotten back on the road, touring again. Big congratulations to them and for Warped Tour. This is the last year for a full statewide Warped Tour. So I can't wait to see some other new bands and report back to you on what we find on the road this Monday. Next one, I'm going to go with something a lot older. I would say this is a holy grail. I think it's a really under-recognized band, Zephyr. They were a Colorado band, started in the late 60s. That's their second album. They only did 3 albums. Their first self-titled one, I remember seeing this in bargain bins over the years and garage sales when I was younger. I always had a strange look to it with this door on the back that says Zephyr. This is such a great album, such an under-recognized album. Great gatefold, 1969 on ABC Probe Records. The vocalist, she has the most incredible range. I mean, she goes anywhere from, the sound of Zeppelin to Joplin. Her range is so high, so amazing. It's a good blues rock band, really psychedelic, great guitar work. There's also a lot of harmonica and other guitars. They're heavy at times, but then they also have that blues rock, jam rock. But they are so, underrated, I think. I would say this is a holy grail. It doesn't seem to be really expensive. If you can find it, it is kind of rare. It was never promoted very well. You can find it sometimes in the $10 to $30 range. I mean, it used to be a lot cheaper than that. But Tommy Bolin was the guitarist from there, another really underrated guitarist. He died at a very young age, drug overdose. I don't think he was in the 27 club. I think he was only 25 or something. But he also, besides playing guitar for the band Zephyr, which is his first band, I think, he did some solo stuff. He was also in the James Gang, Deep Purple. Such a cool guitarist, right up there with Hendrix and all those other guys. There is a special release of the album coming out on yellow vinyl tomorrow. Purple Pyramid Records is doing, I think, only 500 copies on yellow vinyl. It's a gatefold just like the original. So cool to see some light being spent on that. So, Zephyr, it's just one of those bands. I mean, check them out, please. I don't think even back then they were very well recognized. They never got the promotion they needed. This brings me to my holy grail. I love finding a local piece. You can tell by the look of this, it just has a really strange look, kind of a trippy look to it. It's the Hacklebarney album by Dick Pinney and Greg Brown. I think the most interesting thing to talk about first is that this is actually on a local record label, Mountain Railroad Records, and it was recorded right here at Charlotte's Web, which was kind of like I don't know, it's before my time. From talking to people, I think it was kind of like a coffee house, hippie, bluegrass, hangout, and a lot of musicians played there, a lot of acoustic musicians, and a lot of country and folk, and psychedelic. The album's really great sounding. I don't really know if they recorded much else. They had the chance to make this album because it was a live recording, which a lot of bands did get live recordings at Charlotte's Web. Probably only a few hundred copies were pressed. It's pretty rare to find it anywhere locally or online even. It's got some harmonica in it and some all acoustic guitar and vocals. It's a really great album. It's just a good folky album. A little psychedelic, a little bit of crowd clapping can be heard on it. It's not the greatest recording, but it's cool that it's considered a holy grail, one of those hard to find records. Let me know what kind of holy grails are you hiding in your collection. I'd love to know what you have, and research a little more, listen to see what you have. Also, do you have any local records, modern bands, older bands? A lot of times local records on local labels weren't pressed in large numbers. They weren't distributed across the country. So now 30, 40, 50 years later, they can be pretty rare to find. I don't think, this has never been reissued on vinyl. It's never even been released on CD. I doubt you can stream it anywhere on the internet. To listen to it, you just got to get out and dig and find an original copy. This is in my personal collection of Holy Grails. I do have a few other local ones, and I just like to hear something different. I can go from listening to metal and hardcore to folk and psychedelic the next minute. So thanks so much for checking out our Vinyl Happy Hour. Again, every Thursday night we're going to be featuring some different records and a drink and talking about some of the new releases coming out on Friday, pulling out a couple of rare used records and Holy Grails too. I'm going to enjoy a little more of the Whiskey Acres bourbon and check out any comments that you guys have. So thanks again so much. You can find us here at Culture Shock, 2239 Charles Street, Rockford, Illinois. We're open 7 days a week. I'll see you next Thursday. Cheers. I'm going to go the whole one. That was really easy to drink, actually. It's too easy.